Now that you have access to your FlyWheel dashboard, I'm going to walk you through the process of creating your first staging site. On your dashboard, if you already have previous sites through FlyWheel, you'll see them listed below. If you don't, you'll see another button that says Add Your First Site, and that's what we're going to do right now. So you can click on this Create a New Site button. After you click that button, you're going to see this form here. You can leave the site owner as it is. For the site name, this is actually going to be the name of your website. This is what's going to appear in the tabs. Now you can change this later, and I'll show you how to do that, but for now just type in whatever makes sense for your website. So this is just a dummy site that I'm going to delete in a moment, so I'll call it my sample FlyWheel website. And then we're going to create a temporary URL for our website. Now it will it can do this automatically based on your site name, or you can type one in if you'd like. I'm going to leave it blank and just let it auto create. And then it's going to ask you to create a WordPress user. Now what this is really creating is your WordPress admin user. So it's very important that we create a complex username and password combination. You really should be using a different username and password for every site and every service that you use on the internet, just to keep it very secure. Now that can be complicated because it can be very difficult to remember, which is why you should utilize either the username and password storage systems that come default with most computer software now, or operating systems now, or you can use a service like LastPass.com. That's LastPass.com. That's what I use to remember all of my usernames and passwords, and I'll drop a link below this video so that you can check it out as well. I'm going to teach you about the difference between administrator accounts and editor accounts, which we're going to be using to create, so for example, our blog posts on our website. So this isn't a username that's going to be seen on the front end, so you don't have to worry about having it be, my business admin or something like that. You want to have it be fairly random, numbers and letters, or something like that that's not going to be easy to guess. And then of course with our password, we want that to be complex as well. Now, I know that can be kind of a pain, but it is really worth it. It's one of those small steps that we can take to keep our website secure, even though FlyWheel is going to be handling most of our security. So enter in an admin and a username, an admin username and password. And then down here, you're going to click on the option, My Client Will Pay Later. And that's how we get those 2 weeks free, or that 2-week trial time before we actually have to pay for the website. So go ahead and fill out this form and then click on Launch a Demo Site, and it'll tell you how many demo sites you can launch at the moment, depending on how many that you already have. Once you fill out that form and clicked on the Create a Demo Site, it's going to create your website, as you can see just through that process there. It can take anywhere from 30 seconds to several minutes, depending on how quickly it generates the site. And then you'll be shown this site, which is kind of the sub dashboard that each of your websites on FlyWheel will have. So I just want to walk you through this a little bit and show you the different parts of your FlyWheel dashboard and show you the important information for now, so that we can get started. So on the right hand side, it's going to show you the staging URL of your website. So until we're live with a domain name, this is the URL that we're going to use to access our website. So I'm going to right click and open in a new tab because I want to show you something else that's important. When you go to your staging URL, you're going to see it asks for a username and password. Where that is down here on your dashboard. There's this box here that says Privacy Mode. Now, while your website is in trial, the first 2 weeks, you cannot disable this. However, once you pay for your plan, you can turn this off if you don't want it. But it is a nice way to prevent people from looking at our site before we're done building it. The username and password that you're going to use are listed here. You can also change this password by entering in a new one and clicking on Change. Once we do that, we can go over here, enter in the username and password, click Login, and that's going to show us our WordPress install. And this URL, which is here, it's also here and here. It's the same URL. That is the URL that you're going to need in the next set of tutorials, which is going to start walking you through the WordPress dashboard. So this is your main site, and then if you add in /wp-admin, it's going to bring you to this screen, which is where you're going to log in with that admin username and password that you just created. And at that point, you're ready to go through the next tutorials and take the tour of the admin dashboard. But before we do that, I just want to show you what some of these tabs mean. Now I can show you all this without worry because I'm going to delete this site in a moment, right? So this is our IP address and the location of our server in case you ever need that. This is again our staging URL and where we'll set up our domain way later on when we get to our launch process. This is our privacy mode and how we change that password if we need to. Now the only things that are going to matter right now, first is backups. Now remember that FlyWheel is going to take an automatic backup of your website every single day, but if you did need to take a brand new backup for any reason, you're about to make some updates or you're concerned a change you're about to do might break everything and you want to be able to quickly revert, you can create a new backup at any time. And the other items here are under advanced. Now, because most of you are probably going to be on the tiny package, you're not going to have it. You can see here, this isn't available on demo. It's also not available on tiny plans for staging. But if you do have a larger FlyWheel package, this is where you can go to create your staging site, but we're not going to do that now. We're going to build our entire site on our current live environment. And then right before we launch, we're going to take a copy of that and put it on staging. That way the two are completely identical before we go live. But for most of you that are on the tiny plan, that's not going to matter. You can completely ignore that. But one thing that we do want to pay attention to is this button here, which is flush cache. Now, as I told you before during the choose a host, FlyWheel is going to automatically cache our websites. Now it should flush that cache automatically when we make a change, but if for some reason it doesn't, if something isn't showing up, go into your advanced tab and click on this flush cache button. But more importantly, while we're working on our website, so before our website is live, during this process of going through the tutorials, go ahead and click on development mode. And what that's going to do, it's going to disable the cache. So your website is going to be slightly slower than it will be when it's live, but it's not going to cache your web pages. That way you're always sure to be seeing everything. As you're working on it, we don't want to bother with taking copies and stuff like that. So just click on that development mode, and then when your website's live later on, and I'll cover this again, make sure you remember that flush cache button, because that's going to empty out the cache and take a new copy. So that's basically all you really need to know about the FlyWheel dashboard at the moment. So now that your staging site is set up and we have our development URL, which is this URL right here, and we have our admin username and password, go ahead and complete this tutorial and move on to the next one, which is going to give you a tour of the WordPress dashboard.